To start Robolab, double-click on the Robolab icon. Then select Programmer, and then double-click on Inventor 4. Maximize the window with the green and red light, and notice that there are two additional windows within this window: your toolbar menu and your functions palette. Let's look at the toolbar menu. The first tool we'll look at is the Position, Size, and Select tool. This tool allows us to select any icon and move them, or delete them. The next tool we'll look at is the Edit Text tool. The Edit Text tool allows us to write any text within our program, or to put numbers for constants. The next tool we'll look at is the Connect Wire tool. The Connect Wire tool allows us to connect any two icons together. The next tool we'll look at is the Scroll tool, which allows us to select all the icons and move them. Let's delete everything we just created. Select the Position, Size, and Select tool, left-click on anything you just created to highlight it, and then press Delete. One useful tool is the Automatic Tool Selection. This is the largest tool in your toolbox. Highlight it. Now notice as you hover over an icon, it becomes the Position, Size, and Select tool. As you hover over the port, it becomes the Connect Wire tool. And now you can connect two icons together. Hovering over the wire, it becomes the Position, Size, and Select tool again. You can highlight and then delete. Let's create our first program. In this program, we want our robot to go in a straight line and forward for a certain amount of distance. The first step, we want to delete the first green light we have. Then going to our Functions palette, select NXT, then select that green light in this menu. Left click and drag. And now notice, below this green light is a pink box. This is where we name our program. Double click it. I'm going to name the program Forward. The next step is to sync our motors. Syncing our motors means we want both our motors, motor A and motor C, or rather our left and right motor, to be in sync and to go in a straight line. So select the Sync Motor command in your palette, left click and drag. Wire the end of the green light to the begin of this Sync Motor icon, and now notice that there are 5 ports. The first port we'll look at is the control port. This is where we decide which is our lead motor. I'm going to decide that motor A will be our lead motor. To do that, select Arrow in your Functions palette, go to your Modifiers menu, select Output A, left click and drag, connect your control port to Output A. The next port we'll look at is the follower port. This is where we decide which is our follower motor. Our follower motor will be motor C, so connect Output C to this port. The next port we'll look at is the speed ratio. This decides what is the ratio of the speed between the two motors. Since we want this robot to go in a straight line, we want both motors to be at the same speed. So we right click over that port, go to Create Constant. 100% means that both motors will have the same speed. Now we have to decide what directions our motors will be running in. To do that, press the arrow in your Functions palette, brings us back to the main menu, and you'll notice that there are icons indicating what directions our motors can run in. We want motor A, our lead motor, to go forward. left-click this icon and drag it. Then connect your sync motor command to this motor A forward command. You'll notice now that there are 3 ports. The bottom right port is your power level. To assign a power level to your motor, go to the Modifiers menu. You'll notice that there are power levels that range from 1 to 5, with 5 having the most power. Let's assign a power level of 3, which is right in the middle. Connect this port to this icon. Suppose I could not find the power levels, I could use the search command in the functions palette and then type in power level. And there, I found the power level again. We must now tell our robot to go a certain distance. To do that, we'll use a rotation sensor. Go to your functions palette, left click the question mark, and then find NXT wait for rotation. Left click and drag it over. This rotation sensor measures how many degrees the motor will spin. This in turn will control how far your robot will go. Connect your motor command to your rotation sensor. This is a good opportunity to go over the Show Context Help feature. Left click the question mark in the upper right hand corner, and then left click the rotation sensor. It now gives all the information about this icon. There are 4 ports with this icon. The first port we'll look at is the port. This is where we'll decide where to measure the degrees of rotation. We're going to measure from our lead motor, motor A. To do that, go to NXT on your functions palette, and then select encoder A. Left click and drag it over. Connect encoder A to port. The last port we'll look at is called cutoff rotation, which is in units of degrees. This is the number of degrees that the motor will rotate. Right click over this port, go to create constant. It's defaulted at 360 degrees, which is 1 rotation. Let's put in 2 rotations, which is 720 degrees. Double click and then put the number 720. Connect the last 2 icons together, and now notice the arrow in the upper left hand corner is now white. Your program looks good. It's ready to be passed along to your robot. However, if you were to cut off or break one of the lines, you'll now notice the arrow is not white anymore. This indicates that there are errors within your program. Let's reconnect, and now notice it is white again. Your program is now ready to be passed along to your robot.